In the heart of a packed Washington, D.C. courtroom, where the air hung heavy with anticipation and the flash of cameras lit up the faces of spectators like fireworks on the 4th of July, Senator John Kennedy stood alone at the defendant's table. His signature Louisiana drawl, usually laced with folksy wisdom and sharp wit, was silenced for a moment as two judicial titans saw Judge Judy Sheindlin, the queen of no-nonsense TV justice, and Chief Justice John Roberts, the stoic guardian of the Supreme Court, stared him down. What started as a routine congressional hearing had exploded into a live televised trial, broadcast to millions, where Kennedy was accused of political gamesmanship that could unravel the fabric of American democracy. But in a twist that no one saw coming, the senator didn't just defend himself, he flipped the entire courtroom on its head, turning predators into prey and leaving the nation breathless. It all began months earlier, in the sweltering heat of a Louisiana summer, when Senator John Kennedy, a man known for his down-home charm and unyielding pursuit of truth, stumbled upon a web of corruption that reached the highest echelons of power. Kennedy, a father of two and a devoted husband to his high school sweetheart Becky, had always prided himself on being the voice for the forgotten folks of the farmers, the teachers, the everyday Americans scrapping by in a world that seemed rigged against them. His days were filled with town halls where he'd listen to stories of lost jobs, skyrocketing healthcare costs, and families torn apart by bureaucratic red tape. One evening, after tucking his granddaughter into bed with a story about Honest Abe Lincoln, Kennedy received an anonymous tip, evidence of a shadowy alliance between lobbyists and judges that was manipulating court decisions for personal gain. The tip pointed fingers at unlikely suspects, including figures close to the judiciary itself. Driven by a deep-seated sense of duty, Kennedy launched a quiet investigation from his modest office in the Capitol. He pored over documents late into the night, his eyes straining under the dim lamplight, while Becky brought him endless cups of coffee and worried about the toll it was taking on his health. "John, you're not Superman," she'd say, her voice soft but firm, echoing the fears of a woman who'd stood by him through decades of political storms. But Kennedy couldn't let it go. He saw in those files the faces of his constituents, the single mom fighting for child support, the veteran denied benefits, the small business owner crushed by unfair rulings. The corruption wasn't just numbers on a page, it was lives shattered, dreams deferred. As he dug deeper, he uncovered links that implicated a network involving high-profile judges, and whispers suggested even Chief Justice Roberts might be aware, if not involved, in turning a blind eye. The trap was set during what was billed as a bipartisan judicial reform summit, transformed into a live TV spectacle on a major network desperate for ratings. Judge Judy, with her razor-sharp tongue and decades of experience dispensing justice in bite-sized episodes, was invited as a guest arbitrator. Chief Justice Roberts, ever the picture of judicial restraint, agreed to preside, perhaps to lend legitimacy to the proceedings. But behind the scenes, sources close to the event later revealed it was orchestrated to corner Kennedy. Accusations flew. Kennedy was charged with slander, misuse of senatorial privilege, and even obstruction for his relentless probes into judicial ethics. "You've crossed a line, Senator," Judge Judy barked from the bench, her eyes narrowing like a hawk spotting prey. "This isn't the bite, this is a court of law, and you're about to learn what real accountability looks like." Roberts, more measured, nodded solemnly, setting precedents that seemed to seal Kennedy's fate. The nation watched as witnesses, lobbyists with polished suits and rehearsed testimonies, painted Kennedy as a reckless agitator, a man whose folksy anecdotes masked a dangerous vendetta. The emotional weight pressed down on Kennedy like the humid air of a Louisiana thunderstorm. He thought of his father, a hard-working mechanic who'd taught him that integrity was the only currency that mattered, and how he'd promised on his grave to fight for what's right, no matter the cost. As the prosecution built its case, Kennedy's family sat in the front row, a Becky clutching a tissue, their son whispering prayers, their daughter fighting back tears. The challenges mounted, fabricated emails surfaced, twisting Kennedy's words. Expert witnesses dismissed his evidence as conspiracy theory, and the judges seemed poised to rule against him, potentially ending his career and tarnishing his legacy. Viewers at home felt the tension, many relating to Kennedy's underdog status. Social media erupted with support from ordinary people sharing their own stories of injustice, turning the trial into a mirror for America's divided soul. But Kennedy, ever the strategist wrapped in Southern humility, had been playing a longer game. As the trial reached its climax, with the cameras zooming in on his weathered face, he requested permission to present one final piece of evidence. "Your Honors," he drawled, his voice steady despite the storm inside. "Yeah, I'll think you've got me trapped like a gator in a snare, but let me tell you a story about rather it don't hide forever." With that, he unveiled a bombshell: hidden recordings and documents proving the corruption extended to the very orchestrators of this trial. It wasn't just lobbyists, it was a coordinated effort to silence whistleblowers, and the evidence cleared Kennedy while implicating allies of the judges themselves. Judge Judy's face flushed with surprise, her tough exterior cracking as she realized she'd been unwittingly pulled into a setup. Roberts, the epitome of composure, paused, his gavel hovering, as the weight of impartiality forced him to acknowledge the truth. The resolution came swiftly, like a river breaking through a dam. Kennedy's evidence led to immediate calls for investigations, exonerating him and sparking reforms in judicial oversight. Judge Judy, in a rare moment of vulnerability, admitted on air, "Senator, I came here to judge, but you've taught me a lesson in humility." Roberts, upholding his oath, ordered a review of the implicated cases, restoring faith in the system for countless Americans. Kennedy's family rushed to embrace him, tears of relief mixing with pride, as the courtroom erupted in applause. The nation, glued to their screens, witnessed not just a legal victory, but a humanonia, a reminder that one person's courage can challenge giants. In the end, as the credits rolled on this 15-minute saga-turned national phenomenon, Senator John Kennedy stepped out into the sunlight, arm around Becky, and addressed the cameras one last time. "Folks, this ain't about me. It's about all of us standing up when the deck's stacked against us. Truth might get battered, but it always rises, like the sun over the Mississippi." His words left an inspiring echo. In a world of traps and trials, resilience and integrity can flip any script, empowering everyday heroes to fight for a fairer tomorrow.